I've always been interested in the movement of light. It's pre-verbal, very primal. People are emotionally affected by imagery, in much the same way that they're emotionally affected by music. You have to carefully consider what kind of world you want to create. And this is a process where you work with a production designer, costume designer, cinematographer, to develop together an aesthetic for the world, which you're going to try and maintain all the way through. And it's up to you how high concept or high conceived that aesthetic is, or if it looks very, very real and very down to earth, and that aesthetic is almost invisible in those cases. But either way, there's usually a mind at work in the back, planning and carefully placing every one of the objects and the tones and the colors that you're going to show, the palette you're going to deal with. I started making film, I guess, when I was 7 or 8 years old. My father bought me a very small camera. It had the function of being able to take a single frame at a time. And I would use this camera to animate. So I would take a frame, move a small object, take a frame, move a small object. And in this way I realized, when I watched it back, that filmmaking was an illusion, that it was a magic trick. And I really became fascinated with the way that trick was made. I wanted to be one of the magicians. So I don't come from the classical narrative form, from an actor's point of view or from a theatrical point of view. I came very much from a visual point of view. I've been using technology for as long as I can remember to manipulate images, to manipulate sound. At the end of the day, it's all information. You can digitize audio, you can digitize video imagery, and you can manipulate it in much the same way. In the beginning, we capture material, then we take it into a machine, we process it, we reprocess it, and we work it until it becomes something more than just a documentation. In this way, modern filmmaking is akin to painting or sculpting. You have a lot of control. The original image is just the raw material from which you start. If everything's done correctly, all the pieces that make it up are invisible to you. The illusion becomes a whole. It's a recorded image, it's data. But that's, at the end of the day, it's zeros and ones. And the sound as well, all those performances, all the nuances, that's also zeros and ones. It's data. And all that data is, let's say, it's energy, which we can manipulate. Slowly, as the technology advances, we're manipulating the energy more and more directly. The machines themselves are becoming increasingly transparent, and our connection is with the result. We're dealing with colors, we're dealing with sounds, we're dealing with images. We're no longer dealing with hardware. We're no longer dealing with the technology. We're being empowered by the technology to deal with the imagery.